Hello, wonderful viewers. Welcome to Use of Today program, coming to you live on SSBC. My name is Gatwich Wal, the host of today's program. The report indicates that the drug abuse are recently increasing among the drug are believed not to affect their health, but also mitigate them to commit the crime. But do you know the impact caused by the drug abuse among the youth in the youth development in South Sudan? Today, we'll be discussing the negative impact of the drug abuse among the youth development in South Sudan. My guest in the studio is Ungom Stephen, a medical practitioner working with Juba Military Hospital. Ungom Stephen, welcome to the Use of Today program.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to host you today on our program. Please, may you briefly tell us how the drug abuse in regard to the impacts of development in South Sudan?
Firstly, thank you for welcoming me to the show. The story you've just alluded to doesn't take us by surprise. It is something within our reach. And basically, in my medical understanding of drug abuse, is the taking of particular substance with an aim of creating a pleasurable effect to the brain. Yeah. And if you see, brain is the control center of human body.
Of course.
And this is where you will see the effect of the drugs abuse, because anything to do with the brain, it is even known, someone who is not even a medical practitioner will understand what the brain is, and they use the work that the brain is doing to the human body. So that is my basic understanding of the drug abuse.
If we relate it on the developments, on the youth development, how does that might affect it when you had drugs on the
basically, in order to arrive at seeing the effect of the drug, you see the categories. The use of the drug itself, why should people use it? In most cases, you will see some people using drugs because of the peer pressure, like the school children. Many factors, even political factors, social factors, a lot of reasons, and even rituals, which things to do with ritual is what I cannot explain actually, how it is done, but it is one of the reasons why people are using drugs. But if we categorize them, you see, they are of three nature. If you see the depressants, this is the nature, the first type of the drugs. These depressants, they used to depress the brain. Example, just like the sleeping pills, and even the antiemetics, mostly we use in the hospital, some of them. Some people are using it for depressing themselves. This is number one. Number two are the stimulants. These are used to stimulate the brain.
Before we go even that type of the drugs, there is a perception, a traditional perception that always people who take drugs, they have a certain driving factor that for them to choose of taking a drug. Yes, imagining that one they take that drug is going to change the emotional feeling or the else medical complaint on the body. Is that true medically?
No, personally, in my own understanding, no. No, that is something related to addiction. Addiction itself, it's a disease. Because when you keep taking something, like when you see taking certain drugs, there are substances in the drugs that when you get addicted to it, you will not leave it. For example, like someone who smokes, there is nicotine in the cigarette.
In the cigarette.
And when your blood adapts to that, it will be hard for you to quit it. And that's why you see mostly many people, when they smoke, it will be very hard for them to leave. So that one, it's not a traditional, but it is an addiction.
You know, when we talk about drug, it is a complex term, and it looks scary to the people. In that regard, what are the specific drugs that are we referring to as unhealthy and emotional influentials?
No drug is healthy. Even most of the medications we give in the hospital, that is why you see when you give a drug, a medication you give for the purpose of getting rid of that particular condition. And the more the person keeps taking on that medication, it will cause a complication. So to me personally, I don't believe there is any good drug that
what are those kind of drugs that you refer them as harmful drugs? Because the complex, it looks complex when we talk about the drugs. There is the drugs that help, there is the drugs that we prescribe by the doctor, at least to solve a physical problem. But in the context of the negative impact of those drugs, what are the most harmful drugs that do we mean here?
The example of these most dangerous drugs, if you see things like cocaine, and if you see like pethidine, Pethidine, basically, I don't find it here in Juba. I have not seen it where they are selling it, but there are people using pethidine, this is the most dangerous drug, and pethidine is given in the hospital as a painkiller.
Okay.
Severe pain, and this is something that is controlled by the Ministry of Health. Unfortunately, I have never seen it in the Ministry of Health in my time when I used to be in the ministry.
But what are the commonly known use? The commonly known use by the youth currently now?
There is something called ice that I've seen they are importing from Uganda. That ice they smoke it.
Okay.
And when I've asked them, because I haven't smoked it one time, I've asked the one who experienced it, and what they tell me is that if you smoke it, you will be high. They call it high locally.
Okay.
Say, you feel like high. No one is above you, and
you feel
the wall is okay with you. So, and the other one, you see the locally called weed, marijuana. This marijuana, to me personally, I discourage it in the strongest terms. It's the most dangerous because whenever you smoke it, there will be that hallucinations, and this is where we categorize into it is hallucinogens. This one, when you smoke it, you will feel an out of the world. You feel everything.
You feel like you are in extraordinary worlds. When we look at the impacts caused by this drug, we try to see, may you really tell us to how do we really distinguish the degrading cause to this socially in our community, to those people who are addicted to that drug? What are the kind of significant degradation that can happen in the further future? I'm a medical personnel, and in my basic understanding on how to solve a conflict, because I believe in such cases are conflicting ideas in the community. Whenever you need to solve something, the core principle of conflict resolution is to address the root cause of the conflict. Root cause of the problem.
So mostly, addiction is a disease itself. So the best thing we can do first is to treat that addiction from the blood of a person, so that we see the second phase. So this one, it has a lot of complications. When we say socially, firstly, even me personally and you, if I smoke, you'll not even, or if I drink, I get drunk every time, you'll not respect me. That is the one social complication of the drugs abuse. And if you see, many things you can lose your personal belongings and a lot of things. And if that is social, and if you see politically, it's the worst of it. Someone who is addicted to drugs now, you make sure, if you had an ambition of becoming a politician or whatever you think you wanted to be, definitely you lose the direction. And politically, you have to build yourself right from the beginning until you cannot just go and jump and just from nowhere. And if you see, legally, it has the biggest problems. Like if you see someone drive while drunk, that one, it has a very big impact on the legal basis.
When we look at the people who have been practicing that drugs for so long, others saw like they have extra unique shape that they show in the society. But this might be not the right, but this might be the complication of that drug they have taken. If we try to look at it in the medical perspective, how does that one interfere with the growth of the youth, specifically at the young person?
Yeah, because if you are addicted to something, medically, it's very dangerous.
Of course.
And that is addiction. That I said, when we need to address such cases, we have to treat the addiction. Yeah, from the person. But also, like when you are using such drugs, like the injectable drugs, the misuse of it can cause infections of different diseases like HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and all this, because of the misuse of the needles. And when you see many of these people, and I'm really sorry to say this, most of our sisters who get involved in such, you'll find someone at night, you get drunk, you take many of these drugs, and then you find yourself being raped. This is medically, the sexually transmitted diseases will be the first thing that we will have to talk about when we find such a case. So this is the medical complication.
Stephen, based on the report that people said the number of the people has increased day by day If we try to look at the young person, like the way you are, what do you think are the driving factors that force those youth to behave in that way?
We have a lot of challenges, especially in our country.
Yeah.
You know, this is a hard-won country. We got this country through.
Yeah. We had gone wars,
we've gone through war.
Yeah.
So it wasn't easy. So when you see these children going to a crisis like what happened in 2013, most of these people, to me personally, I don't take it as an excuse, but this is what many people have been telling us when we ask them outside, why should you do this? They will tell us the conditions that we are in order to forget all this, the economic crisis, the war, your people dead, and you have nothing, you have to take all these drugs.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one factor I've seen from them. The crisis that the country is going through, the war, civil war.
Others use it to convince themselves so that they feel moody. They will not even think about bad things that has happened.
Yeah.
But it has gone further. We are in the era that we are realizing the dividend of peace. Would that one continue in your own analysis? If that was in the past, but we are experiencing the growth, the number of people enrolled on that drugs. Would that one stop based on your analysis?
That one, there are chances it is 50-50%.
Yeah.
It will depend on how we will handle the situation. If we continue to mishandle it the way we are mishandling it today, we expect it to rise. But if we double our efforts to talk about this and do all we can, it will not continue. There are different ways that we can tackle such cases. And like now, you can't find someone who's drunk outside and tell him, why do you drink? You want to harass the person. No, this is not the best way they can listen to us. We have to go down deep to the grassroots, and it is very unfortunate. If you go outside the estates, you see how young people are drinking. Because there, it is in their disposal and very cheap, you can find it anywhere. But we have to develop different strategies of discouraging this. It is not only through force. Force will be the last phase that we will use when, to those who fail, to get, to take the good advice that we're giving them. Yeah. So the force, I consider it the last phase of the strategies that should be used to avoid all this. But first, we have to go on with the medical educations. We give them complications of all these drugs.
An extensive awareness.
And let me confine it to alcohol drinking. This is the biggest problem we have in our country.
Commonly known.
Commonly known. And this, to me personally, if we even start taxing, I'm not an economist, but if we start overtaxing these alcoholic drinks that are being imported to the country, I think it will give us 50% chances of reducing all this. This is the best way that we can avoid, because if they are expensive, many of these youth will not manage.
Okay. Yeah. Dear viewers, let's go for a short break. We shall be back.
As a youth, and pray for God or anything we can do help us to respect our age and then continue growing up in our future. Because you can grow up as old and you cannot do anything in your future in which you define you as a youth. So please support us and let us grow as a youth.
Youth on the International Youth Day. It's a great opportunity to express myself also on how the youth are going on and what exactly we're supposed to be doing. So what am I trying to say? Like the youth at this point, this is the point where we are hardworking. We exactly have to do whatever we can as the youth in South Sudan in particular and in the world as well, to do whatever we do as the youth who are hardworking, who are wise enough to raise the future generation and to raise ourselves. So let's just be strong and do whatever.
My name is Asunta. I live here in Juba, and finding out that tomorrow is National Youth Day, I just wanted to take this opportunity to bring to the attention the fact that youth these days have taken over to the streets instead of working hard so that they can earn a living. And I feel like that is because of their upbringing. Most of the times, like in schools and educational system, there's no system that educates the youth to be able to be creative and to use their minds and hands to be able to protect them, to serve themselves and care for themselves. So if this information goes out, it would be nice if the government and others can also look into the education system to help these youths as they're young to grow up into productive and creative youths.
By name Malwal Daniel Bwana Mapap. The day means for all of us, the youth. It means that the day that unified all the youth, whether in South Sudan or outside. So as the youth, I would like to give my points of view to those people outside there through SSBC that the day of tomorrow will be a very important day for all of us. We need to utilize it, to remember everything and to connect ourselves. Because as youth, we need to abandon all the steps of the generation that has already gone, because our generation is coming. We are always exposed to fragile situations. So those situations are not good for us. As youth, we have to focus on what will come next in our future and connect ourselves. We have to abandon the issues that are taking us apart.
Simtai Pony Matthew, Ana Bimana Leom ta Itan ta International, Ana Biwish Haja Quest, the Sabab Tanata Junub Sudan, Yan Le Tamaniete, Le Hukuma, كده أسمع للشباب تا جنوب السودان حاجات ألقي واجه هنا كتير في حاجات كتير بواجه هنا وأنا بونس وما بسمع لصوت هنا سبيشال هنا بنات لكن أنا بويش لحكومة كده أسمع لصوت هنا بالذات هنا بنات ندير مستقبل كويس لبلد هنا إنما ندير حاجات بطال كده حصل لبلد هنا ندير حاجة كويسة الناس بارك كمان بعرف قالي في بنات في جنوب السودان وفي الشباب كله يعني أنا بتمنى حاجة كويس ليوت هنا تا جنوب السودان لجيل الجيجا قدام تانا أنا بتمنى يعني إن كله بيكون ناس الأجرة كنا أجرة كويس يعني حاجات البطال أنا قاموا البطال باريناك بزار لأولاد كلهم سيبوا حاجات المون قاموا البطال وإن بنات حاجات كمان أنا قاموا البطال كنا سيبوا كنا جا سوا عشان بيقوموا بلد تانا فوق بلد تانا لسه السلام ده جا جديد نقدر أعرف بلد تانا ب10 يدين سنزات الناس بارا باين وقال فعلا في مستقبل في جنوب السودان وفي إيال في جنوب السودان ده أعرف بلد تمن فوق أنا ما بيصير بلد تانا تيت أنا شباب أنا كلها بيجا أسيود عشان بعرف صار السودان
معكم مساعد إداري في جامعة جوبا أيوة الجامس في شغال في المطبعة بتاع جامعة جوبا المفروض يعني أكون معكم الليلة وبمناسبة جنبك يوم العالمي الشباب الشباب هم الجزء الأكبر في بتاع الدولة هم كل شيء يعني لو ما في شباب ما في حاجة الشباب بنلقاهم في الخدمة المدنية في الخدمة العسكرية حتى في الأشغال العادية في السوق دل الشباب هم كل شيء فأنا رسالتي للشباب إنه أصلا حاليا بقى أي حاجة بيقولوا كوفيد 19 إنه الكوفيد 19 ما حينتهي حيكون معنا حيكون زي ملاقة وزي تايفود فأنا رسالتي للشباب إنه ما يفقدوا الأمل في كثيرين فقدوا الأمل بيقوا قاعدين ما دايرين يشوفوا شغل ما دايرين يفكروا في حاجة تانية فأنا رسالتي للشباب إنه ما تفقد أمل فاليوم العالم للشباب بكرة حيدينا أمل إنه لسه في أمل بكرة الدولة حيكون حقنا الناس قاعدة حيجي يوم وهيمشوا وهنيجي نستلمها.
عليك بيتر أتر في يوم بتاع الليلة نحن كشباب تاع جنوب السودان نحن بنحتفل بيومنا وباعتبار انه ده يوم اي شاب بيشوف نفسه في قدام المجتمع هو شنو. بالنسبة لي انا كشابة في جنوب السودان انا بعتبره ده يوم مميز شديد وانا بشجع كل الشباب الحين وبرا جنوب السودان انه لازم يشدوا حيلهم لانه نحن ياهو جذور بتاع بلد ده. الرسالة بتاعي يعني بس لحكومتنا في جنوب السودان إنه لازم يدعم بلدنا بصفة خاصة يدعم شبابنا تاع جنوب السودان بفرص بتاعة الأعمال لأنه نحن إذا شفنا هنا في جنوب السودان في شباب كتير عطالة ما شغالين قاعدين ساكت لكن إذا فتحوا فرص في إنه أي شاب ما يكون عاطل يكون عنده فرصة ويشتغل أنا متأكد بلد ده هيمشي لقدام. ده هو الرسالة البسيطة أنا داير أقدمه لحكومة بتاع بلدنا جنوب السودان وأنا بشكرهم في إنه هم شاركونا في الاحتفال البسيط.
أنا يا ميري جوكودو as youth جنوب السودان وأنا مرتبط بيوم تا International Day اللي create as a youth day. I'm so glad في يوم ده زي حاجة تاي بس رسالة تاي أنا قودي لحكومة هنا تا جنوب السودان أنا بس دير حاجة واحد كلام لنا unity كلا يكون among the youths عشان ما بيكريت enmity زي حاجات لسه جه حاصل تيم بشكل بتيم شنو بس انا داير يونيتي كده يكون في among ناس زي يونيتي ده بعملوا زي في طريقه اللي بعملوا لناس جوب opportunity ومن كان كريت لناس جوب ناس بيجيسك سوا ناس جايين وبعدين تتم كله اكوانا سوا ما في حاجه تاني بيحصل مشاكل في النص ناس زي اخر كلام تاعي انا قودي المسج ده لكل شعب جنوب السودان. وشكرا.
أنا اسمي أنا فرانسيس، طالبة من جامعة جوبا. أنا بشكر الناس اللي جوا عشان يقولوا عن يوم بتاع الشباب، وفرصة ده فرصة جافة للشباب كلها عشان نخلوهم هم يكونوا يعني ما بس يكونوا قاعدين بس في بيوت. خلاص بقى زي ما شايفين كورونا، حس ناس بس قاعدين في بيوتهم ما في شغل. يمكن أولاد كله بطلوا فاشلين حاجة بالشكل ده. خلي الناس يكونوا قويين. رسالتي لهم خليهم يكونوا يفتحوا عيونهم كويس، وكمان حتى في زمان كورونا ده خلي الحكومة يفتح شغلات عشان الناس تشتغل، وأولاد ما يكونوا بس لابسين سنبلة، ما أولاد براو كمان بنات كلهم.
Viewers, welcome back from that short break. We are still watching the Use of Today program coming to you live on SSBC. My name is Gatwich Wal, the host of Today program. And my guest in the studio is Ungom Stephen, the medical practitioner working with Juba Military Hospital. In the studio, we have been discussing about the negative impacts on drug abuse on South Sudanese youth or development. Stephen, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's have a brief about the prevalence of this drug directly. How does a prevalence of this drug abuse directly impacts financial status of the youth, basically?
Because of the financial situation, everybody will find different means to make sure he gets what he or she eats.
Yeah.
And that financial situation has brought us a lot of complications. It has brought many people dealing inside drugs, and they made it available when it is needed.
Yeah.
So financial situation is one of the factors that is leading to the availability of all these drugs.
Yeah.
And like I said in the beginning, that we have to put very strong strategies, not force, but different means that we will use force as the last phase.
Yeah. Because those drugs are not just an easy thing to be found. Most of them are expensive. You know, youth were accused of just being idols, not even working. Do you think it's one of the reasons that contribute on youth idleness?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons. But for the issue of youth being idle, not being employed, firstly, when you want something good, you have to help yourself before someone helps you.
Before somebody helps you.
Yeah, but we involving ourselves in such a drugs, we drink every time. It will give our elders chance not to create jobs and to put their interests first, and that's why sometimes we are called lazy youth. Because the youth that always drinks, if you find them where they are seated, there's nothing productive.
Then you're shouting.
Yeah, so it's really made it very difficult. But I think unemployment is part of it.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
In the major towns and cities in South Sudan, it's worth noted that most of the accidents, the fatal accidents and the crimes being committed by the youth were either directly influenced or either under the influence of the drugs. As a medical person, as a young person in particular, what do you think can we do in that scenario to make sure that that phenomenon is stopped?
Well, if you can even say 70 or 80% of these accidents are made under the influence of alcohol. I will give you a very quick example on my side. I was knocked one time. Someone knocked my car. And in the perspective, it was found out that the guy was drunk. And this is also another complications, legal complications of the drugs.
Yeah.
Because someone that did something under the influence of alcohol will make the judgment very hard. So the traffic has to be very serious with people drinking while drive. But the biggest issue that I've seen facing traffic police on the roads, most of these people you see driving, drink and drive, you'll find them driving V8. This is the biggest problem. And if you go to our roads now, traffic police, they fear someone who drives V8 because they believe that it must be a government official, or if not a government official, that must be a son of a minister or whatever they think. So if you see many people, there is automatically, it's very hard to find someone who drives a small car and is drunk.
Yeah.
Most of these people are the ones that drive.
Instead to stereotype it as people who drive it.
Yeah.
Most of those drivers are the youngest, the youngest when we see to age bracket. In your perspective, as country is transiting to peaceful atmosphere, what do you think a youth can do in order to shape that narrative of looking them as criminals or people who are drug.
No, the best way that we can move forward is to have a sense of belonging, and this has to be personal. You must understand that this country belongs to you, and it's you to move it forward.
Yeah.
And, if you can see, from our parents, our grandparents, they fought for this country.
Yeah.
They did not manage to liberate it. Our parents came in, the next generation.
And
they didn't even manage to liberate it. They liberated 50% of it. And it came at our time that what was given to us is not a bullet. We were given papers to decide. So that 50%, we were part of those who liberated this country.
Okay.
But if we liberate our own country and we destroy it, it doesn't make sense. So the best way is to tell this youth, we engage them in very productive activities to let them know that this country belongs to all of us. However much the dramas that they are continuing now, fine, we will go on with it if they must continue.
Before we conclude our discussion, what is your last message that you will need to share with the viewers and your followers across?
Yeah, my last message as someone in the age bracket.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't drink, I don't take any drug. And mostly when we tell people that this one is not good, you will see like, does not even make sense what you're talking about. But we have the complications of all this. Why our country is not moving forward is because of this. It's because of youth. If you see, I guess if you let me even say 80 or 90% of the population in this country are the age bracket of youth. And if we continue involving ourselves in such cases, our country will not move forward. So if you see from when we gained independence from 2011 to 2020 today, nearly 10 years, it's enough time for us to do something.
Of course.
But if we see ourselves now, I will not pretend saying that we've moved forward. No, we've gone backward. Fine, we might have done a lot of little development that we've done.
Ungom Stephen, thank you for coming to Youth of Today program. And it's my pleasure hosting you today on our youth program.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, we have come to the end of the program. In the studio was Stephen Ungom, Stephen, medical practitioner working with Juba Military Hospital. We are discussing the negative impacts of the drug abuse in the youth or development. My name is Gatwich Wal. On behalf of technical teams, thank you. Continue watching for the rest of the program coming to you live on SSBC. Thank you. Bye-bye.